We will now continue to the lesson from the 18th of January 2002. We read an article from Rabash concerning respecting the Father as if the Creator demands us to respect Him. Of course, He doesn't need that. There can't be any kind of demand like that in, or understanding like that in vessels of bestow. One who bestows the first correction we go through where we reach bestow is they have no address for self, no return to self. So certainly, respect, and being the one of the biggest demands of man's ego, man's will to receive, it immediately becomes uprooted from the person if he enters spirituality. In the spiritual realm, honor or respect is not self-respect, but the opposite. It's the honor to whom I give, that I need to honor him, appreciate him, know him, and that he'll be great in my eyes, because only then my vessel of reception will surrender and I'll be able to bestow to him. This is actually the whole matter of the concealment, that until person doesn't attain all the corrections, then the Creator is hidden, to not disturb the person to make the correction, not that he is doing it on purpose so that we suffer in the darkness or all kinds of other calculations the way we think about it in our ego. Rather, the concealment on his part is to allow us to prepare vessels of reception, specifically vessels of reception so that we can then receive in them. Without limit can be received only if these vessels are of reception are in order to bestow. So to allow us to correct our vessels of reception to acquire the intention, the reflected light, and that's possible only if the Creator is not felt inside of us, inside our senses, and that time of the preparation of the vessel for the reception of the light, as to happen in darkness in double concealment or single concealment. And so the work is in trying to work on the greatness and importance of the Creator without knowing Him. How is that possible? From the darkness, from the negativity, not from the positive, but from the negative. If a person from the negative, from not feeling godliness, he develops the desire for godliness and comes to the point of until it doesn't let me sleep, then he is awarded with the Creator, beginning to be revealed to him. And then the revelations he feel the knowing of the Creator also uses the person, also serves the person, as fuel, as the ability to keep increasing the vessel, to continue and grow the vessel, and not that the presence of the Creator quenches all development. Like in our world, if we take a hungry person and give him everything, he will not want to develop to work, he will not want to develop. You know, they say that hunger and fear develop the world or govern the world, move the world. What does it mean? The desire for, the lust and passion for all kinds of things, and the hunger, the desire to fill oneself, that pushes man towards development. It brings him to move. And so if people, not just people, but all of nature would just receive its fulfillment on the spot, there would be no development. There would be no need to make any movement. On the contrary, even if you would like to make a movement as if you would like, but there would be no reason to. Any movement is necessary. It's the necessary urge to receive fulfillment. So the Creator has to be concealed. Where pleasure has to be concealed, the suffering, meaning the emptiness, has to be revealed actually. And in such a state a person needs to move and develop himself in the right direction, build the vessel, that this vessel, the desire for revelation of godliness, will be sufficient, which is impossible without this. Then the Creator becomes revealed and begins the stage of the disclosure of the face. The transition between concealment and revelation is called crossing the barrier, entering spirituality. And after that, when a person moves to the sensation of the Creator, meaning into spirituality, into the upper world, how doesn't matter how you call it, then from the Creator opening up to him, from beginning to see the forces, relationships, what's happening with him and his surrounding, from that he begins to learn reality in a practical way from his new life, from the data that appear to him. So the main thing is to go through the phase of preparation and achieve disclosure of the face. After that it says one soul shall teach him, meaning that a person receives an impression from the revelation of the Creator, and that already attracts him and advances him. Any questions, please? In order to give the person the passion, the desire to reach the Creator even when he passes the barrier, is there some kind of concealment. After a person crosses the barrier, I understand that there's some process, some mechanism by which some mechanism before the barrier when the creator is hidden from the person by which a person receives the desire to reach the creator. Anything after he crosses the barrier, how is the creator hidden from the person? The creator is hidden from the person in a simple way, to the extent that the person is not in corrected vessels. These vessels themselves hide the creator as something that's opposite. Or you can say it differently from the creator's perspective, that the creator from above, we can't talk about the person before he's created. So we say that the creator created a system of diminishing the light, diminishing his presence, his sensation, through filters of sorts that weaken and weaken and weaken more and more his sensation with respect to the created being. And those levels of weakening, they're called worlds. 5 worlds. In each world there's 5 in each 5, altogether 125 degrees, by which the creator, who is if stands behind all those degrees, all those filters, he is then felt as weaker and weaker and weaker through those filters. And we, beginning our path from below, we are under all of the degrees. So we feel darkness. So on the one hand we have to say the creator is hidden from us behind all those curtains. And on the other hand we can say that all those curtains, all those degrees, they are within us. And they are in fact the stages of corruption that we have from above downwards, that he deliberately corrupted us and made us this way. And to the extent that we correct each and every corruption from below upwards, from smaller corruption to greater and greater and greater one, the truth is the greatest corruptions are the highest. One who's greater than his friend, his inclination is greater than him. When we begin to correct ourselves from below upwards, or you could say when we remove the filters, those curtains that he put between us, to the extent that I correct a quality within me, that curtain as if opens up. I correct another quality and a higher curtain opens up as well, and so on. But in truth, it all happens in a single carrier. It's all within the soul. Besides the creator and the soul, there's nothing, and all those degrees happen within the soul. When the creator put a will to receive in the soul, he did it gradually through 125 degrees, one by one. Each one is greater, more cruel, more demanding. And when the will to receive, the greater it is, the more it demands, the lower it is. Then we begin our feeling from after all those degrees of the soul, from a point called this world. So we don't feel anything at all from godliness, from the creator. When the first kind of attitude towards him opens us in us, it's the point in the heart, and it's also not something that is felt realistically in a sense that I can see him and feel him, but through the preparation that we're engaged with now. If I start from that point and build the first vessel, the first correction, I remove the first curtain, the lowest curtain, then I begin to feel him. So it's all within me, within my soul, and afterwards I correct another something of my will to receive. And then I remove another hurdle between us, another curtain between us, and thus I feel him more and more within my soul. The truth is he's always there inside my soul, but I on my own, within myself, I correct my sensation of him, my sensitivity to him, my ability to sense him. So everything we can talk about is ultimately happening inside the soul, only there. There's nothing outside of it. There's nothing that if something's happening outside of it, does it really happen on the outside, or does it not? I can't say. Just like in our 5 senses, I seem to perceive something from outside seemingly, because I actually just perceive my responses to something from the outside. And so from that I build my entire picture of the world, where I think I exist in a certain place, in a certain reality. The same thing happens in the soul, in the 6th sense, that what's felt in the soul is what a person calls my spiritual world, and that's it. And what's revealed within the soul is he calls it the general force. He calls it the creator. It's not, like a little thing, as I'm talking about it, like it's not such an important thing, but this is how the root of creation becomes revealed. The root of all of creation, all of reality that we're talking about, the worlds, the souls, and everything that fills those souls and worlds and angels and demons and spirits, which is all together just forces. qualities, and what you think of as this world with all of this vast universe, and all of the stillness. Look at how many billions of tons of planets and distances and all those things ultimately become revealed to us as our impression from the influence of the Creator upon us towards our senses. It exists inside our senses and outside our senses. I can't really say if it exists. In truth, it doesn't. It doesn't because this picture is a picture that falsifies the true reality, meaning that what we perceive within us according to our sensations, our qualities, our senses, we call that objective reality as if it exists even when we don't sense it, even if there's no human. But such a thing we can't say because we can never check what is the true reality. If there's no person to feel it, we can always talk about who feels and what he feels. Only those two things are light and vessel, creator and created being. So all the worlds, all that we talk about, all of reality, is only within us. It's only within our emotions. And is a science that explains to us. Then what is it that we feel? Who fills my emotions, my senses, my five senses, and the additional spiritual sense? And what is this reality that we call life? This feeling within our senses. And part of the senses perhaps disappear and others are born and so on. In short, it's a science on perception of reality. That's what Kabbalah is. And Kabbalah calls the reality we experience, or it divides what we experience to two parts, the imaginary reality and the true reality. What do you call imaginary, and what do you call true? If I feel that, so Kabbalah says this, the imaginary reality is the reality you feel in the ordinary five beastly senses of a person, and the true reality is what you feel in the sixth sense. Why? So, I have a science and physics and chemistry and all kinds of means that I develop from the sensation of this world. The truth is that because the reality of this world is felt in a desire to receive in order to receive, this thing is false in its foundation, because I don't sense the true reality. I don't sense who actually fills me. Everything I feel is according to the impression of the vessels that demand pleasure. In other words, the picture is distorted. I see that I'm going to be missing a few words here when I develop the sixth sense, because I develop it to the point that it is worthwhile for its role. It becomes independent of me. It becomes objective, unrelated to my will to receive. It's as if I'm looking through someone else's eyes. You understand? Not bribed. I don't feel the picture through how it seems to the program of what's good or bad for me, but I feel the picture the way it is, for real, and that's why this reality is called the true reality. And so that reality that I feel, I name that Creator. Now, there are things here that we perhaps still need to clarify. Questions. Yeah, how to ask this. There's a feeling that I'm not running towards, I don't feel the Creator yet, and my feeling is that I'm not running towards the good, but rather, it's more escaping, fleeing the bad, meaning I feel a lack of flavour in this life, a pointlessness of this life in a way that really hurts me, you could say, and I'm trying to flee that, but I don't feel any great pleasure in running towards. I mean, I'm more in a state of fleeing the bad than running towards the good, although intellectually I understand that reaching the would be incredible. So how to invert that? How to start running towards the good, not just escaping the bad? Good question, meaning a person who comes to a point where he wants to escape the evil. He's actually the kind of person who comes to Kabbalah in such a way the Creator necessitates us to begin to know him. Since we are a will to receive, we cannot be forced otherwise, but just doing, making us feel bad because then we advance necessarily. So Barham writes that all of Kabbalah is intended for someone who asks what's the point in life, a simple question. In their introduction to test item 2, right away right in the beginning he writes that the whole wisdom of Kabbalah is for one who asks what is the point in life, and he's truly looking for how to life because it's difficult, and he's just unable to stay alive without solving this question now. So certainly anyone starts running from something bad and looking for something better. You understand, but We are talking about that we don't just want to be beasts that run away from evil or like babies too, and we want something good, so we want to advance like a human. What is a human? That the creator is godliness. The creator is the general force of nature. It's the force that runs all of reality. It's the general law that if I know it, then I know how everything works, how everything turns around and spins past, present, and future. I know all the souls. I know myself. I'm tied to eternity, not to times in this world, and generally all times everything that happens throughout all the worlds. So I will yearn for that, only because now I feel bad something pokes me, rather I want to advance like a human to something that is big and great. And it's true actually, one who starts studying Kabbalah has to change his motivating force from a force that pushes from behind through suffering to a force that pushes from the front by pleasures, even beastly pleasures, meaning that I think I will be better off, not that the bad necessitates me to escape. All the religions, all of their systems are built on that method of escaping the bad, and therefore they tell and stop wanting. Stop, just settle for a little. You don't need much. Eat less, drink less, even breathe less, like in some yoga type of thing. All kinds of things. Diminish your demands and you'll be better off. Settle for something small. Something smaller is easier to come by and to attain. And if you do such exercises so that you don't want more than that, you'll be happy. Sit under a tree, meditate. Peace. By that you cannot acquire something really great because you are destroying the vessels of reception. So it's true that from behind I no longer feel this painful urge that pushes me forward. But I also don't really run forward. Kabbalah says we mustn't delete anything. Enjoy this life however you want. Keep enjoying alongside. Keep studying Kabbalah and try to reach a state where spirituality is greater than this world. It's eternal. It unlocks your horizons. You will truly feel and soar above all life and death, and you'll see all life cycles. How life is governed in general, not just this life right here, right now. And that will push you forward. And it's not that you don't want to feel pain. So you don't want more than a piece of bread and a plate with some soup. You understand. So we certainly need to replace beastly suffering with suffering of love, that I'll feel that I lack spirituality out of love, out of wanting it because it's great, because it's beautiful, and not because I'm being poked by troubles from behind. That's what we need to do, and that's something that a person by himself finds very difficult to do. It's only by the society that the society will provide him with this kind of confidence and sensation and impression. Then if I see that a lot of people are impressed by this, then I can stop paying attention to how to exit my troubles. I just see that other people yearn for it because it's great. Everyone says it's great. And then from envy and hate and all kinds of human traits that I have, I also want it. And that's how a person replaces the suffering of a beast by the suffering of the human. What's special about the sixth sense, where I feel the pleasure, the giver of the pleasure? What's special about the sixth sense? Different to the five senses in the sixth sense? Well, it works according to a completely different method than the five. In the five senses, the software, the program running in the five senses, is the program of the will to receive. So according to that program, I perceive reality in my five senses and process it, to begin with, in my will to receive, which is to say with no relation to actual reality. Whatever will be good for me, I perceive. I absorb. Whatever will be bad for me, I also perceive. But I perceive it in such a way where it seemingly I reject the bad and pull closer the good. That is the program of the will to receive, working with the five senses. So we have five senses, like five conduits, through which some impression of what's external comes to me, and this impression I immediately divide into what's good for me, what's bad for me, and I don't care about reality itself. I only care about what I feel from it. So the image that is painted before me, it's not a real picture. It's a picture which has only in it only the way I relate to good or bad. Whereas if I develop the sixth sense, The sixth sense works according to a different method, the method of bestow, meaning with no relation to myself, my own initial nature. It's only according to who it is that I feel, meaning to what extent is he important, the one who I feel how great he is, and to what extent I can direct, instead of towards me. I can direct pleasures and suffering, all things, towards him, meaning I replace feeling good and bad within myself with him as the object that feels good and bad from me, and then the image begins to be completely different, meaning I begin to feel that it's not what enters and settles on the will to receive, but rather what enters and settles on the will to bestow, and the will to bestow to the divine, to the one who gives me all these impressions, meaning my vessel becomes to be the creator. The creator becomes my vessel. It's like with a camera. I take a picture of something that's outside, right? What do I take the picture on? My own film or his film? So, it follows that I receive his vessel. I begin to transition to feeling what he feels, what he is impressed by, meaning that in that way I unite with the upper force. He is outside of me, and that's why this reality is called the true reality. Look, there aren't exactly the right words with which to express this, but it's truly an opposite world question, meaning that even now, well, after in the even afterwards reality is subjective of love by acquiring the sixth sense and feeling a different reality in it. That doesn't cancel out the five senses. They're not cancelled, and I don't cancel my impression, my feelings in those what I feel in those five senses. There is no correction in them, rather, there's nothing to correct there. They remain as they are, meaning in the same way I can enjoy all the things I enjoyed before. In the same way, these five senses are not meant to be corrected, changed. They remain as they are, and that's it. What I do, however, is I practice with them to reach a state in order to reach a state where I want to develop and work with the sixth sense. So opposite them and what I feel in them, I receive the beginning of the sixth sense, the point in the heart, and indeed I unite with that more and more and more. I feel that he is I begin to live in him. What I feel in him or in it, that sixth sense, for me that's my entire life now, and not these five senses, the beastly ones of this world. Instead I feel spirituality. When I feel spirituality more, for me that's happy. If I feel it less, for me that's sad. It's not about what's in the five senses, so that begins to be more and more important to me, and then I simply attach myself, glue myself to that sixth sense, and I begin to affiliate with that, and that becomes my life, to the point where these five senses don't bring me any special sensations, any special impressions later. Yes, no, I don't feel that I live in them, to the point where when the person dies, the body dies, the person doesn't feel that he died. He doesn't undergo any kind of dramatic process of separation from the body and all those things. Rather, the love said, you replace it like you change a shirt. That's it, and nothing more. So the feeling of the creator doesn't come together with the person. How does it happen? How does it come? The feeling of the creator comes in the sixth sense. If the sixth sense becomes greater than the five senses, if the person identifies with it and wants to be adhere to it and to live in it, then the impression in it, compared to the other five senses opposite them, opens up the sense of the feeling of divinity. The feeling of godliness is not connected to the pleasure that I receive in the five senses. The feeling of godliness has nothing to do with the pleasures felt in the five senses. You can continue enjoying these five senses to the point where you turn them off using the sixth sense, or don't. It doesn't matter. The wisdom of Kabbalah forbids nothing. The wisdom of Kabbalah says develop the sixth sense, and in the five senses you do whatever you want. There are no corrections in them. There's nothing in them. Simply using the sixth sense will build a man out of you, human Adam, and then you'll know how to use or not use those five senses. In this, the wisdom of Kab is very different to all religions and all the other methods, and here you really see. But this method is the method by which to acquire the sixth sense, acquiring something completely new, unrelated to this world. This whole business is unrelated to this world. Likewise, the wisdom of Kabbalah doesn't talk about any physical actions or any rituals, traditions. customs, things that belong to what? Not only the correction of these 5 senses, tradition, actions, habits, various things that relate to religion, but the general population deals with it has nothing to do with the wisdom of Kabbalah, as it doesn't belong to spirituality. It has to do with the person who is in this world and feels that this makes him feel good, makes things easier for him. It's just popular belief, belongs to the imaginary world. Yes, the sex 10 is an embryo of me and the Creator together. It's something shared. You had a question. Yes, what is feeling bad in spirituality? There is such a thing, feeling bad. Yeah, the same way the feeling of good cannot exist in spirituality without feeling bad. It means the measure of concealment and revelation come as one, arrive as one, where first of all every concealment has to come prior to a revelation, otherwise there won't be a revelation, meaning everything is made up of the status of the created being, opposite the Creator. So of course, reality has to comprise 2 forces, 2 points of data, light, darkness, vessel. Light, it doesn't matter. And so the feeling of the bad, the evil, must come before the feeling of good. But this bad feeling in a person who is in spirituality is not a bad feeling. Rather, well, I don't know how to picture this. A person who knows he's soon to eat a meal. He really enjoys the fact that he's hungry now, and he already knows what flavors he will be able to discover through his hunger, and then saturation, meaning one supports the other. In spirituality, you cannot distinguish between them. It's the front and back of the same vessel. And so there's no state in spirituality where a person suffers. The feeling of darkness is a constructive feeling, a feeling of the making of the vessel. It's joy. It's not pain or despair. Beyond the maximum, the barrier, there's nothing negative. So the reality that I find in this extent is a relationship between me and the Creator. The question is whether the same reality will be seen to a person who you know, just like 2 people look at a chair and they see more or less the same chair. Yeah, so, meaning a person or people who are on the same spiritual degree, although it's 2 souls, and the same measure of the Creator is revealed in both of them, and they both feel the same reality, although each one has his own flavour to it. It's like, we can't compare with you what you feel and what I feel in the same drink, that it's the same or a little bit different. Of course, there is some difference in our impressions. That's how it is in spirituality. And of course, each one perceives, grasps these things slightly differently. But in general, it doesn't mean that reality is different. They have a common language when they talk about what they feel, and because of that, Kabbalists write books to one another and they can exchange opinions regarding what happens on various degrees, various spiritual states, and each one feeling special flavors in that. It's because each one is another part of the general soul called Adam. So, of course, each one has a slightly different impression. But that's it, nothing more. There's no argument about this even, because we cannot compare these things between us. To what extent you're impressed by something warm and sweet, something of the sort, and to what extent am I impressed by it? But we both agree that it's warm and sweet. Could 2 Kabbalists on the same level have a dispute in their views? No, on the same level they won't have any dispute. They all feel the same, because we're all built according to the same 4 discernments. What one feels and another feels, it's the same as in this world. They feel the same thing, but the inner impression within each one is different. If you and I are served the same tea, right, in the same place we took it and drank it, we agree that it's sweet, because we share the same senses, and that it's hot and it's wet and various other discernments. But now I ask you, how sweet do you feel this is? And you'll begin to describe things to me. You'll never ever be able to explain to me and convey this to me, and I also won't know exactly, and I won't know how to convey this to you, meaning there are things which relate to the specific formation of your vessel, and my vessel, that's it. But according to the 3rd thing, what we feel, in that we won't have any argument. If the 6th sense is an additional sense, an inner sense, how do you feel? It's specifically in the relation to the friend, in relation to a friend, or why do I need the friend? It's because it's possible to develop the 6th sense only by being drawn to the divine. It's not that I'm pushed towards spirituality by suffering from behind. Rather it's, like we said, that I'm drawn to spirituality, drawn to it by the greatness of the Creator, by this eternal thing, meaning not through the beastly senses, but by recognizing that spirituality is superior to this world. This impression I can receive only from the society, and so this whole sixth sense, which is the attraction to spirituality, that I build atop of the point in heart. This sense can be built only by the society, meaning to the extent that I'm impressed by the society. To that same extent, I mean I'm impressed by the society, recognizing the greatness of the divine, talking about it, how great it is, like an advertisement. Like, fashion, all those things. They brainwash us with that, so to the extent that I receive from them this impression, I can cultivate that sense, develop it, to the point where I begin to feel spirituality in it. In order to be impressed by the society with the greatness of spirituality, yes, I need to feel them, or let's say, appreciate them as great, very great, all these people, in order to be more carefully impressed by them. And I need to feel that I'm lower than them, and also that they are of a great number, and if they are many, I'm also more impressed, and I need to organize for myself this artificial framework where it's only them influencing me and not anything else. And then, to the extent that I succeed in making sure this brainwashes me, that I'll be completely captured by their opinions, their views. To that extent, I'll succeed in developing the point in the heart until it becomes a vessel, right? So again, the point in the heart never grows through suffering in this world. It grows through the recognition of the magnitude of spirituality. And so it's very important to hear from everyone that this is an enormous, gigantic thing. Yes. Unique question. So it follows that the Creator we talk about, it's not my vessel. It will never be mine, even if I'm equivalent to it, right? Love, the spiritual vessel is built above the middle point in our no infinity, where the egoism is just a point, and what we build atop that point, this vest, right? We draw it as a kind of cup. It all comes from the first 9 spot. These first 9 spot are the qualities that we receive from the Creator, meaning our egoism is just the foundation up top, which, on top of it, we can build the first 9 above it, meaning the qualities of the Creator that we receive from the Creator, take from the Creator, copy from the Creator. More correctly, in those qualities we receive godliness. But how can we receive them, copy them from the Creator? By placing them above the ego, above it. So here there needs to be a restriction on egoism, on the egoism screen, and to the extent that we can step on it, and then we can build above it the 9 by receiving these qualities from the Creator. And so it follows that a person acquires the vessel he uses. He acquires that from the Creator, that entire vessel. The more he wants to bestow upon me, the more or as much as he wants to bestow upon me, the same vessel of bestow I copy to me, and I use it. In that I become similar to him, equal to him, like him. That's why he and his name are one, and all that. Yes. Question in that respect, because it's the same thing I receive from a friend. It's not mine also. Yes. When I receive this impression from the friend, it's the same thing. That's why it's written that anything that's outside of the person is the Creator. The qualities of the Creator, only the Creator exists outside the person. So the society that I'm impressed by, why does it rule me? Yes, shouldn't the society I'm impressed by, do I need to be a part of it, or can I look at it in a state of from below upwards and to be impressed by it, or do I really need to be a part of it? Love, know the society that you're going to be impressed by. You don't have to be a part of it, because part or not a part, it's according to the measure of equivalence of form. That's how we measure it. So I cannot say no part or not a part. But the main thing is to be impressed. The main thing is to be impressed, meaning to put myself, to place myself in such a position towards the society where I'm impressed by them, because maybe they're closed, maybe I'm not absorbing things, maybe the connection between us is not exactly proper. It could be that I see in them so many things which I don't like other than spirituality. Let's say spirituality, what they say about that. Well, I would be impressed by that, but I see how screwed up they are and how ugly they I don't know all these things which can instruct my impression of them, right? This impression. And here, of course, it depends on the way in which I organize my order of importance and my perception. That's my work already, and in that also I can support the people who are around me, because I'm not alone. There are other beginners, right? Other people. And the problem is that the measure of my impression, the impression I get from the society, it depends also on how I perceive other people to be impressed by it, even those within the society and also those around it, in the society and around it. So it also depends on how the society positions itself towards me. Are they, are they making me eat right? Are they giving me some kind of stimuli so I'll be impressed? They have to show me that there's something great in them, that they're great, that they're what's happening there. They have to show that to me, otherwise I'm small. How can I be impressed by that? It's like with a child, you play with it, you play with him. But through these games, by playing, he grows, you understand. So in the same way I want them to relate to me, meaning the society that wants to attract people and help people advance, has to be open in the sense that it knows, like an educator, how to relate to those who want to come close to it. It has to be concerned with that towards, well, the people who are going to approach the society. It has to show itself as important to those people, as great, as not working humbly only. Everything is hidden here. You can't see nothing. We have to in some way show the beginner that there are great things here. Like with a child, that something is erupting here. Beautiful, shiny, colourful. We have to do that. For that purpose, the Kabbalists started making all sorts of, performances to the people. The Rav goes out with his robe, with the hat, all these things. It's all, there is something behind it, a foundation, all these things. They started from things which were causative at their inception. More of you, that's it. Why is it important that the friend will also get the sixth sense? Oh, I'll attain what I attain. Why is it important for me that he advances? You're talking about two friends, not a big one and a small one. In the society, it's very simple. We have love your friend as yourself. We think it's some kind of nice slogan that everyone's fed up of hearing. It's not whether it's important to me or what he attains, because we are talking about there being in a person this desire to receive, this desire to receive is a part of, is just a dot and the nines feel before. That is the qualities of the Creator, and from the cascading and the shadowing of the vessels and all that, it became such that each and every one of us has his ma'al, the part of his own part. But if I want to receive the nine spur, meaning the rest of the parts of my soul that belong to the nine, I cannot receive them just like that from some place. They're in the rest of the souls. So it turns out, and I can't take it from you, where I'll kind of go like that with my hand and penetrate your soul and grab it there and tear out your soul and take from you my part and join it into me, and then I'll go away. I'll go to each and every one and do it. Such things can't be done in spirituality. Rather, in spirituality, you need to unite with each and every soul, and you can't unite with each and every soul because in the other soul, besides your part, that is there, all the rest of the parts you can't be in contact with, you don't feel them. It's like because they belong to the part of a different part of, not yours, but through your part you are connected with the second soul and the third one and fourth, etc. With everyone like that. So if I want to build something with myself, I must be incorporated with all the souls, each and every one. And there's a wonderful result from this, that each reaches the cleave of the Creator, the cleave of all of reality, the cleave of each and every one. It's just founded on one's point of me, but all the rest, all the souls are become his. Hence it won't help me if I attain something and the second doesn't, because in the end we all must attain that same most exalted degree, otherwise no one attains that degree that's called the general final correction. Even Shimon, even doesn't matter who what greatest ones are there are they cannot reach the highest possible degree before all the souls reach that degree, because they too are missing all the corrections that they have yet, that the rest of the souls have yet to do, that's lacking in their clee. They reached those corrections on their own, which they corrected on their behalf, all those things but nevertheless, until the rest of the souls correct themselves and don't reach it, they too will be lacking. That the general light, if we say there, too they too are missing. Yes, if in such a united society, let's say one of the society or a few, already get that sixth sense, can they make it easier for the others? I mean cause more closeness and unity. If several people in the society already attain spirituality, they're beyond the barrier, then the whole society benefits from this, because through the incorporation of those who have attained within, the rest of the souls already operates in the fact that in each soul there's already a certain correction, a spiritual correction. That person that I'm in and I'm corrected, and he does not feel in that part that he's corrected. He doesn't feel that, but he feels the support from that part towards the rest of the parts, which helps him advance, which helps him be corrected onward to correct his own qualities with that corrected part of mind that is in him. But only through these common parts there's a connection between one another, where I'm in everyone and he's in everyone and he's in everyone, and it's like that with everyone. It turns that each person has their individual part, is that which what is inside of him of his own, and the rest are not of his own. That's how it is in each and every soul. Meaning, if we're talking about a soul, that includes, it doesn't matter how you say this, let's say 10. So is his mal is the persons, and the first 9 are all those qualities that are in all the rest of the souls. And he can't, I'm saying again, take them, pull them out of everyone, and seemingly enter them into himself. He has to be within them in all the souls like that, and to work in this whole cleat that's in everyone. Turns out that a person is kind of spread out on all of reality. There are great ramifications to this. Hence, love your friend as yourself becomes a natural rule here, because it's actually the way reality is built. And what's interesting is that this point of himself a person doesn't need to correct, because that's the stony heart. He should not relate to it. That's itself. Rather, he needs to specifically correct all those parts that are in each and every one, all of his parts that are in the first 9, meaning the growth I've done after receiving the point in the heart, a longing for spirituality. I grow to the extent in which I correct my part in each and every one, meaning in order to bestow this is considered. From this we can understand that the law of bestow is a necessary law for the connection of the soul to one glue of each and every one. That's the importance. But for one person to reach spirituality, so his point in the heart that exists in each and every one actually is corrected and supports the other points. So does it matter if it's a person that I'm close to, or even if I don't know him at all? How is a closeness important just from the general inspiration of raising importance? Or there are cabs who thousands and hundreds of years ago made corrections, and those corrections are in us and help us advance. I emphasize this. I have a part of Rabbi Shimon and the Ari and the Ashlaks and the rest of the Kabbalists, that the millions throughout the generations, yes, and those who are concealed and those who are revealed towards humanity, that we know, and each and every one of them left an impression in each and every one of us. I feel this. I say, oh, that's corrected me, because he lived 800 years ago there in Spain. And oh, this he corrected. Thank God. How do I know? I don't know. But that is considered that nevertheless exists certainly. And that is why we're connecting, and therefore the righteous, who is the foundation to the world, advances in such a way more than anything else, and advances everyone the foundation of the world. The whole world is thanks to him being pushed forward. But that's one thing, and the second thing is that if there's someone next to you, like a friend, who is already in spirituality and or not his impression and influence on you can be much more important through corporality. What do you have for him preparing for you that Kabbalistic preparation? And it's right that you today become more sensitive, more ready for spiritual development. But the friend that's next to you is an example. He acts upon you more than anything. He can push you in great distance. That's why we should relate to one another like the simply a force that you cannot advance without liking the elite unit. Thus a person according to his development feels the whole humanity's development, because the whole of humanity is his vessel, and he cares about each and everyone just like he writes in the Arvat article about Rabbar son of Rashim, who the whole world belongs to. That law, love your friend as yourself, but it depends on the development of a person how much he feels and sees this. But certainly this is so, because a person comes here doesn't feel the correction of each of sense, and if he doesn't reach the correction, no one will reach. That's why the expansion of the wisdom of Kabbalah and dissemination is so important. It turns out that from the understanding of this system, all that comes out of this is understood. I'm looking from some of our new friends here too. Yes, to what extent can I discern the degree I'm on and know a bit of the next degree? How precise is the science? To what extent is a precise thing that I can measure what's the degree I'm in, etc. Our science in this world which we develop depends on our senses. If we distinguish between 7 colors, 7 tones, etc., then accordingly we rebuild devices and create systems, programs that will be suited to that which is between us and what we feel as the world around us. So we will be able to study the world better through our devices. I can compose my senses in a way where I feel what I'm lacking. Meanwhile, I don't see X-rays and other waves that are shorter. So accordingly, I build devices for that. But later, in order to perceive something of that, I must from those devices that grasp those phenomena to transfer it to a language or a measure or something that I understand, that I can see. So I will feel and hear. By this I check and measure and write down and repeat all these things. That's our entire science. Basically, what happens to us in spirituality. In spirituality, we are in a much better state than in corporality, because in spirituality, I attain the roots, not just the phenomena, but I attain the roots of these phenomena. The reasons in spirituality there cannot be something that I will feel before I build a kli for it. That condition alone, in which if you have a kli, in that kli you feel some phenomena. That is the one thing that points to the fact that Kabbalah is a true science compared to all things that we have, because in our world I can say what is that I feel something, what is it I don't know, who is it I don't know, where is it I don't know what, yes, that's how I feel. In spirituality this is impossible. In spirituality, if I didn't build a vessel prior to that, and where I know precisely the causes and the consequences, and how I'm about to feel and measure, and what screens I will have, and what restriction, and what, and the head I build the striking of coupling with a certain measure of reception I, perceiving I will have only, then do I receive within the body of the in the impression, and then I know exactly what's happening in me. That's why in spirituality you can't attain something in feeling before in the intellect, in the knowledge, and the reason you didn't measure it and know 100% from the beginning to the end what it is. Who is the father and mother of this state? Where does it come from? What could be the results from it? And so, Kabbalah in relation to all the other wisdoms is so precise to begin with when it opens to a person that you can compare between them. How many phenomena do we know in medicine, physics, chemistry? Because we know them, but we don't know why it is like that. We don't even know why Earth has a gravitation. Why is it I let go of the glass and it falls and breaks? Why is it like that? Because in spirituality there's no such thing. If you, without you knowing the law itself, its causes from within, then it's a sign that you didn't build a clean. You don't feel it. Hence all attainment in spirituality is a completely true attainment. It's truly scientific. That's also why the wisdoms of this world in relation to the wisdom of Kabbalah are called imaginary wisdoms, wisdoms of this world, and only that is called the wisdom of Kabbalah. That's why we call it the wisdom of truth. That's because how real this is, the facts that are here are true facts. With that, the fact that we can't attain in the wisdom of Kabbalah due to the limitations of our vessels, that too we attain, meaning the abstract form in essence, we attain that, and the matter in this form that's clothed in the form, the abstract one, we don't. Hence, to attain spirituality, it is clear where the limit of his attainment is, and From that limit onwards, it can only come in imagination, and there's no proof to this or a scientific foundation, meaning in each and every single detail, it is clear to a scientific holist. Who's researching this? Hence, without any comparison to the regular science in this world. I know the science from this world, from within it you can't compare. In this world, we collect details, data, and from all the details we find in nature from researching, studying, we try to compose them together into certain theory to some general picture. It could be that it's like this, it could be another way later. It falls, so we build something else from a collection of facts that the approach to begin with in its foundation in is not called scientific. Do you understand? But because we're trying to find the cause of things and then discover all the results, and we are incorporated from the results because our whole world is a world of consequences and the causes are in the upper world. So certainly we're not capable of going in any other way. Well, let's learn a little bit. Let's share impressions from the lesson. And what from it are we taking to implement? And we heard a wonderful lesson. Only with the help of this we can reach the final correction. Only with the help. With this measure we can reach the final correction. The example is the sixth sense. With the sixth sense, I feel the picture of how it is certainly in its true form. I feel what the Creator feels. Yeah, very rich lesson. The first correction is not of a plea for myself. And the Creator created the curtains, 5 worlds, and made a concealment in order for us to want to attain Him, in order to acquire His qualities. And everything is in my soul. And the science of perception of reality is called Kabbalah. We need to change the suffering between us, the sufferings of love, and it's all with the help of society. That's the main emphasis, that the society, the system is the system that upon which everything is built, and therefore, to the extent in which a person is incorporated and first of all appreciates the society, thus he can receive forces for advancement. Because advancement in spirituality is out of importance and not from suffering, but rather this choice must be out of true choice and not through running away from something. This is why he's dependent on the degree of appreciation from the society where he can receive the importance of how great the Creator is. As he writes in the article, you don't appreciate me, and the whole problem is a lack of appreciation of spirituality. So, the solution we heard is actually in the society. One of the lessons that you say, well, if the whole world could hear this, it would have been amazing to come out of the world of results that is very limited. Because we're absorbing everything through the 5 senses that are limited, and to go out into the world of truth and see the reasons. Afterwards, there's already the explanations how to do it through society, like my friend said, to increase society, to demand from society greatness of the goal and make sure that society has the greatness of the goal all the time. That is our fuel that gradually develops. The point in the heart brings us closer to equivalence of form, takes us out of slavery into freedom, is a science to receive reality. When we absorb reality within the 5 senses, it's called an imaginary reality. And to the extent in which we develop the 6th sense, we actually develop a true reality. That's it. We feel the reality due to the extent of the impression of the vessels that demand pleasure. A picture in which I demand the picture of good and evil and examine it according to the will to receive the real pictures in relation to the Creator and what's outside of me. What's outside of me is what Kabbalah calls the Creator. I said I'll just add more to the wisdom of in relation to other religions where we're looking to run away from the bad, and then we have demands and we want less, and there you can maybe run away from the bad, but you don't reach to the development of the good where you need new vessels, bigger vessels of reception of pleasure. We heard that whoever starts studying Kabbalah must change his motive force. We are going to continue after such a rich lesson about the perception of reality. We will just continue what Rob explained, a small quote. We need to perform a restriction, put a screen above it, and the more we can step on it, and the egoism, not the screen, thus we can build above it the 9 field, the first 9 field, that's what we will learn. So we're continuing, you remember where we stopped last time, net right? explains the 4 phases of direct. Right, and now we're going to continue to the world of restriction, where he'll explain to us how a spiritual part is created. What's a screen? What's reflected light? And all those things he'll explain to us. Yeah, and as we heard in the lesson, we're going to try during the studies to go from my own movie to his movie to go into the world that are presenting to us, and we'll learn and we'll hear Araf explaining this part of the 4 phases entering the work with the screen by really trying to enter his movie. We'll start with clip 13 in order to aim our intentions. I yearn to be within the system I'm in. They're now 2 but disconnected. To know is called, and man knew Eve his wife. To know is to connect. Knowledge is a coupling. And I want to know. I want to be connected. And spirituality, that's what it means. To know where you when you connect. And you know if you don't connect you, nothing will help you. That's called spiritual reason, not reason in our copy and externality. Hence, what am I reading about the actions in the system by me yearning to be in the system, to also be in order to bestow, to also be connected with everyone in order to discover out of my efforts as well the creator inside these desires. So by this I awaken the reforming light upon myself. I connect, specifically when I do it in a group, where between us we build this system of connection, and then the study becomes a prayer, which is the main part of our study, which is a request. Now we're going to watch a lesson. Each one writes down their discernments, their questions, and to just stick to what is saying. Follow him. You'll see, in the lesson, he won't let anybody deviate right or left. Just let's follow him. So Malat, the last 4th phase, which has already a desire to receive of her own, feels that she's receiving according to her independent desire. So in her there's truly the reception of the pleasure, and she feels that she enjoys. But the light starts to give her again his qualities, just like in phase 1. You see they're similar. She receives the same light at phase 1 received. Only in phase 1 the desire was also from above, from the Creator, and in phase 4 the desires from the created beings himself. He wants to receive, hence he feels that he's receiving, because now the light gives him a feeling of him being the bestower. So it turns out that Malat feels the gap between her and the light, where light is the creator, and the Malhut of this Kli is the created being, and she feels this difference, this gap, and as a result of this, she's left with a sensation of shame. And as a result of the feeling of shame, which is opposite to the light that fills her here, as a result of the feeling of being different to the light, it be received the desire to bestow it from it. Here the feeling that she gets from this, from the Creator, and being different to him, opposite him. What's born is a different action called a restriction. This Malat says, I don't want to receive anything, and expels the light. Nothing remains other than an emptiness. And this Malat, who is emptied by the light, is called the restricted Malhud, the Mal of the first restriction, or Malhud filled with light. We can call the world of, and Malat which was emptied of light we can call the world of restriction. What does it mean to enjoy? Is it clear what I'm saying or not? Only the stages, so I'm repeating them again. What we need to remember, light comes from the Creator. It creates a Kli. What's a Kli? A desire to enjoy him. Light is pleasure. The Kli is a deficiency. A desire to enjoy the light. The pleasure fills the Kli, the desire. The light fills the Kli. When the light fills the vessel, there are 2 parallel languages. Either I'm talking about the human language, pleasure and lack and desire, or I'm talking about and light and Kli. We're used to talking in lights and vessels. For the time being, I'm also talking in the parallel language. So the Creator, who gives the pleasure, wants to give pleasure to the created being, creates a deficiency for the pleasure. The pleasure is called light. A lack is called desire. The vessel that receives the light and enjoys it receives from it not just the pleasure, receives from it also the nature of the light, and becomes like the nature. Just like the light wants to bestow, the vessel wants to bestow his will. So the Kli we had before in phase 1 became the phase to the vessel of phase 2 that wants to give, to bestow. To who? To the Creator. Why? just like the Creator wants to give him on the other side, he wants to receive that quality from the Creator and give to him. It wants to bestow, but it has nothing to bestow. So what does it decide? It thinks, how can I give and bring contentment to the Creator? There's a lack in the Creator that I can give him. What's that lack? That if I will receive it, will have pleasure, where a state where I will enjoy. So, what is phase 3 that comes out of this too? She opens a part of giving back, somewhat from phase 1. And she says, I receive like in phase 1, but because I want to give to bestow contentment to the Creator by this. And then we have phase 3, the next stage of development, which includes both parts. There's the part that wants to bestow, and because he wants to bestow, he receives. And then comes phase 4. What does she decide here? She decides, I want to receive all the light fully. Why? Because I decide that for these two parts that are certainly equal, receiving is the closest to them. Why? Because that's how they created to begin with, and then it goes and gets corrected. We will go through this thing together with the screen. Maybe it'll be more clear to us. What did we learn besides that? Words, names of these phases, of these discernments, of these degrees. Root, the light that comes with the Creator. Phase 1, the vessel, the first vessel that was created. Phase 2, the second vessel that wants to bestow. The third phase, the third clay, that's mixed from the desire to receive and the desire to bestow. And the fourth phase is the light, is the want to receive. From the word, the control of the desire. That's where the desire really is in control. What is this malhood? It is the created being, and we will talk about it later. And all the previous discernments from Malatab, we do not talk about. These are the stages of the building of Malat, and what happens later happens only in Mar. This is how we'll continue talking. Malat, which is filled with light, completely according to her desire, where she decides and she wants. It's not that the desire of the creating was created, her it was happening through development. So this Malat is called or world, and all the states that will be every state of Mal will be a world which is filled with light unlimitedly. The filling without limitation is called no ending meaning, no limitation. That's it, that's the meaning. That is if my cup of coffee was filled 100%. It would also be called and so off. There's no be boundary. Everything the vessel can contain is filled, is being filled all the way. It's called. Then she feels that once more she's opposite the light that's here. And the light that in phase 1 gave to the 2, bestow gave the vessel a feeling that it's opposite the vessel. And here too it gives it a feeling that it's opposite from the Creator, that the vessel can't be a bestowing because desire is her desire. She can't invert her desire. It's really, that's it, that's the end of the vessel, the desire to receive in. That's it, it's final, it's the first time that it emerges, and it's the final, it's emerged forever. This is where he became independent. What is this? Desire, it's the desire to receive. So what does she feel of? She feels the opposite with her qualities to the light, the extent to which she's opposite to it. And then as a consequence we call that feeling the feeling of shame, where the Creator is the great one more than me, and it gives her, and she'll come and she's inverted opposite it, according to this quality. Now the Creator brings it to a very special quality called the first restriction. What does this mean? Her unpleasant source of sensation is what fills her, and she says, I don't want to feel that. Why? It lets me feel that I'm opposite. And there's no choice, the light is expelled. That's called the first restriction, and the empty is called the world of restriction. Why world? Every state of mood is called world. The world from the word hail, concealment. Okay, I'm saying again in our course in these few lessons, we are not entering too much to the why, but that's how it is. But after we learn with the time of the studies, you'll see how each and everything needs to be related to in such a way. Yes, then, Massage, whoever, you can buy this tape. It's our previous lesson, and there's the sketches I drew last time also, so you get it with a Vidape. So after we learn that we have this Malat is the entire created being, except for it and the Creator. There is nothing Creator and created. being, so that created being is called, and it is actually the will to receive. Again, what is the will to receive? To receive, but actually, we should add what is the will to receive. What do you want to receive? Pleasure and joy, meaning the will to receive means the desire to enjoy pleasure and joy. This is actually the entire essence of the created being, the will to receive, and we call it phase 4. So phase 4, as we were saying, is the will to receive which restricted itself and pushed all the light away and remains empty. In this state, it's called the restricted mallet. She restricted herself. What did she say? If pleasure comes towards me, I will drive it out. I do not want to feel it. Why? Because I'm suffering. Instead of enjoying it, I'm suffering by getting filled with it. This response, that the pleasure came to it after she drove it out, and she says I'm not going to receive it. This response is called a coupling by striking, and it takes place on the screen. What does that mean? In the first restriction, first of all there was mal-of, then there was mallet. Of the first restriction which drove the light out, the third action said I will not perceive anything even when the pleasure comes. So there is a decision from mal to put a screen with the screen. What is the screen? It's a force of resistance that I do not want to receive. The light comes to me from the Creator. The light that comes is called direct light, and the screen pushes it back and says I do not want to receive anything. And then what goes back from the screen to the Creator is called reflected light, or was there, reflected light and direct light. The screen is the force, resistance. After this screen drives the light out of her, she starts thinking, what did she do? She just said by this that she won't receive for herself, like the action of Beener, like phase 2, that weird that also said I'm not going to receive anything first. And then she says, if I'm going to receive, after I rejected everything like phase 2, rejected after phase 1, now when she's receiving because she's rejecting, and only for the Creator. So. Now when mal rejects, this action is resembling, and this action is resembling. Now if she receives, she'll receive exactly like phase 3. What was that? That she really received only in order to give pleasure to the Creator. In phase 3 it's the Creator creating everything, also phase 1 then phase 2, and phase 3 responded in that way. Now when the will to receive is the actual will to receive of the created being. So now if he will receive, it'll truly be bestow, and decides, I rejected all the light. Obviously I'm not going to receive in order to enjoy on my own. I'm going to receive it in order to be so to him because he's already enjoying it. So that's why I'm going to receive. And she calculates and takes a bit inside of her in when rejecting and calculating, that is called the place where she does that calculation. The head, the place she receives the light inside and enjoys, that's called the inner part, meaning in the vessels where she receives, but she can receive the entire light and fill herself. Why? There she can receive from and fill herself with all the light. So why not here? Because her will to receive is her own, and to withstand against it, that's impossible. There in the 4 phases of direct light, all those phases, she says, its qualities she got from above. It still wasn't her own. Here she feels that it's her desire. That's why she can even a bit to receive, and in the rest remain empty if she fills that part. So that'll be completely reception for itself, without thinking that she's doing it for the Creator. So this part that remains empty is called the end, and this whole structure, including the light that came from the Creator, reflect direct and reflected, all of this is called off. So I'll add here that with the screen, then we have that rejects. We call it reflective light. Then that receives a bit called inner light. This part that she receives inside, that's called inner light because she receives it inside in the desire. So mal from the direct light that came to her rejected her completely and only received part of it caught in her light. And so the light against the comes, the direct light, should fill the entire right. This direct light that came has to fill the entire mal. Now if we only have a part of it, meaning the direct light becomes a bit of inner light, so part of it remains on the outside, and that is called surrounding light. What is this surrounding light? The inner light comes from the Creator, the direct light, and then the inner light is in the poo. So the surrounding should have been in the, and gradually we'll see how it does fill, all the way till the end, until all the light enters. It's not the light of Beaner. The Beaner is rejecting. It resembles the action of Beaner phase 2. So now we have learned a few new terms. Again, I'm going to repeat them, then ye can ask. From the Creator comes light, called direct light, is after the restriction. She doesn't want to receive the light. The desire to reject it and not receive is called the Mac, the screen, the force of rejection. It wants to push to stand against your natural desire. She rejects the light back to the Creator, and that's called reflected light, because Malat rejected the light, and it's clear to her that she's willing to stand against all the temptations. Now she can calculate, how much can I still receive that it'll be for the Creator, that if I receive now, it'll be for him. Turn off your phone. Then she decides that she's going to receive. Why? She calculates and sees that she can receive only a part of the light that won't come in order to enjoy it, but in order to give joy to the Creator. And then she decides and receives the light that comes inside. Let's say 20% of the direct light shall take inside, and the inner light, part of that takes the light inside, is called. The part that remains empty is called. Why she puts an N there and says I'm not going to receive here, why that she wants to fill it with light. It's very simple names according to the deeds. I'll say when it's possible to ask. The direct light that came to Mal is divided into inner light, and the part that remains on the outside is called surrounding light. So then we get that direct light equals the inner light plus surrounding light. The inner light enters the surrounding light is destined to reach the self, but for now it's standing on the outside. When will it fill the self? When there will be a screen that is so big that it can receive the entire light, in order to be to the Creator, that we'll learn later. So this structure of Malat, after the first restriction, when she thinks how much light she can receive inside, how much to receive, how much not to receive, all this system together is called a spiritual object. So we went through a few things here. I'll repeat again. That received all the light, felt the shame, made the first restriction, said she can't receive the light that comes afterwards. Then comes the light and rejects it. And the light that she reject called reflected light. Then she decided that she will receive part of it. That's called inner light. So a few more names is called where we do the calculation, is where we receive the light, and is where we cannot receive the light. The place that the screen stands is called pit in Hebrew mouth. The separation between the place that receives the light and the place that doesn't is called a taboo. The end of all the desires is called the end. That's the structure of a. Guess we're moving to questions, please. From what we saw, now we received our A portion of light from the Rav. Now we want to scrutinize, to ask. Of course we can also, and the system. Woman 6, please. Where do you start feeling that pleasure comes from the Creator? How can you connect it to anyone? Because for now, it's just like a saying. Where can we feel the pleasure? Is that the question? In his explanation, said that pleasure comes from the Creator light. As studying it, okay, we learn about it. We take it as information. Where exactly does it happen in the created being? So in the beginning of the lesson we saw, Rob told us that there was the development of the 4 phases of direct light. Mal was created, and he says that what happens afterwards happens only with the Mal. Everything we continue speaking about is only happening with the Mal. So that mood goes through many stages. We saw that also in the first lesson, where Raf talked about this 125 degrees of concealment, until we come to a state in which there's an absolute disconnect. She doesn't feel the Creator at all. Yes, that Malter expression is that desire, the desire to receive pleasure. He even emphasized desire to receive pleasure and delight. When you know, in short, where the desire to receive, the desire to receive pleasure and delight is the matter of the created being, and that created being begins to work from below upwards without any sensation of the Creator. He wants to receive just like he received before the first restriction. The fact that we see a pleasure and run to it, no matter what pleasure. This means that we want to receive it. How to receive it just like before the first restriction. but there's a law. That was to find that M decided to do a first restriction from here down. It's already law. It's not a choice. So whoever can acquire a screen and reflected light after performing a restriction begins to feel all that's spoken of here. And before that, you're right. It's not in our vessel of reception. Our vessel of reception is only pleasure, even the spiritual pleasure. Before attainment we feel as a pleasure that we want to feel for ourselves. Even the desire to enjoy spirituality. About that too in the first lesson we heard about that transition between a person wanting to be in his own movie to delight himself and moving to the creator's movie and feel the pleasure outside of himself. And here too Rav talked about the fact that each of the creating has a part of his own, and through that part he can start to emerge out of himself until everyone does as everyone will be, lacking even the great cabbers to reach the final correction they're missing. What we're doing now where we too want to reach that spiritual attainment, and when we get there only then will be whole completely. But where is this pleasure, the saying thing you talked about, the screen and the reflected light? We can't see that we feel it, because as long as we're not there we don't feel it. Yet, as long as we don't have vessels, right? In the previous vessel said we have to build vessels, and in these new vessels the sixth sense what he said we can feel the true reality, and not the fake reality that we see in our five senses. Thank you very much for this wonderful lesson. Materials that are just opening up for us. As much as I understand the screen light, Rav explained, is the force of restriction of Malat, and it's a consequence of her not wanting to receive such a barrier that she says in this place I don't want to receive. And in this lesson, Rav discloses a few more barriers. Might the taboo the sum? And now the question, is sum also a consequence of mut, or is it some form of a screen? Correct. Also the sum is a type of a screen. If we start from the beginning, so the created being is in a difficult state. On one hand he can't receive because if he does receive for himself, he can't. On the other hand he must receive because there's the purpose of creation. What does it mean to do good to the created beings? So he starts receiving. How? With the screen. What I've explained. What is the screen? The form of reception. I can receive as much as I can resemble. With reflected light as much as I can resemble the creator. So the first action of the screen is in the what true. I don't receive, I calculate as much as I can receive, as much as I can I will receive. So that's called the two. What about the rest of the pleasures that I can't receive in I don't have a screen? I can't receive them in order to be so is for myself. So take that cup of coffee of love. So we said when it's completely filled, that's insult cup that isn't filled all the way, so there's already a limitation. There's a part I can receive and a part I can't. So that's the end, the S again, same. Pleasures that I couldn't receive, and then you get surrounding light. So the second action of the screen is the table, where the end of the that's all I received, and the last action is the what I couldn't receive, but against that woman. The question, can we say that Biner is like the root of the reflected light, and that is the point where the created being begins to become independent from the creator? Gave an example and explained how everything comes from the four phases of direct light. What's the example he gave? He said that just as phase 1 was created as the will to receive, afterwards after the restriction still has the will to receive. Nothing changed. She still wants to receive just as phase 2 discovered that she can overcome, because the light made phase 1 want to be like the bestower. So after the restriction parallel to that there's a force of rejection of this great, so it's parallel to phase 2, and just like phase 3 afterwards is the decision to receive because that's the way it can bestow. So also afterwards when the screen with the reflected light can calculate as much pleasure as it can receive from the creator, it can receive in order to bestow. So what's the difference between phase 1, 2, 3 to work with the will to receive the screen and then receiving in order to bestow? The difference is that in the 4 phases, route 1, 2, 3, 4, it's all on behalf of the creator, and when the created being works with the restriction screen and reflected light, that's already considered an action on his own behalf. But what was emphasized hereby is that there is nothing that doesn't exist in the four phases of direct light. Everything there. The created being afterwards copies on his own matter, which is phase 4. There's no other material to work within. Latin 1. And dear friends, where does the confidence of the screen come from? That it's clear that it will receive in order to bestow. Where's that force come from? The screen is the force. Like I've explained, the screen has two forces, not one. There's one force, called the hardness, which he rejects all the pleasure that he has. Oh, the pleasure. The pleasure is, let's say 100 kilo comes to the screen, he has the force to reject it. So, also the shame, he's ashamed he can't receive. If he receives, he'll be far from the Creator. So the law of the first restriction also doesn't let him take the light inside and enjoy for himself. So the screen stops the light, won't let it receive, and then it decides how much it can receive, and the screen is a method how to receive the light. So the part it can receive it puts inside, and but not just like that, he receives it as reflected light. Now the reflected light becomes a new vessel. Usually writes, reflected light plus direct light is inner light, and they enter together. In the example with the cup you said, you didn't said the cup that received all the light is called in no limitation, and then you said a cup that receives part of the light that is not full. There's a soft, and they she cannot receive any more. Why is the cup not being filled not mean that she can't receive more? Doesn't it just mean that she didn't receive more, and so is before the restriction, as opposed to that after the restriction. There's already a state where there's a vest vessel, and this vessel works by checking the relation between the direct light and the reflected light. The direct light is pleasure that comes directly from the Creator, and the reflected light is the response of the created being to the Creator. And here, the created being checks as much as he can be equal to the Creator. To what extent? So let's say gave an example 20%. 20% of what the Creator wants to give. The Creator wants to give 100%, and the reflected light is also 100%. But from the equivalence between them, it turns out that the created being can only receive 20%. So what does he do? He takes what he can receive and receives it. That's called to receive in order to bestow. But from that scrutiny, when he checked how much he could receive, he also discovers how much he can't receive. Because if it's clear that he could receive 20% of the pleasure from that scrutiny, it's clear that 80% he can't receive, and that 80% are called surrounding light. The 80%, this is called surrounding light, and the vessels where he feels the surrounding light that he can't receive are called the end of the meaning we have. That is the place of the planning of the calculation where the created being puts himself before the Creator and checks with the reflected light as much as he can receive. There's a where he can receive in order to bestow, but from the scrutiny of where he can or can't receive, he also discovers how much he can't, and that's the of the all. These scrutinies are thanks to the screen, and they take place by the screen. That's why it's also called what is the. It's not just filling in the water. You see that was there to begin with, but it's called the expanding from in him, and within him, it's the expansion of the screen to where till the taboo. This is the P till the where can't it receive till here the meaning all the scrutinies, all the calculations only take place in the together are called goof, the goof of the. Why? Because in there it's already the result. The calculations are only in the. In there it's clarified as much as it can receive and also as much as it can't receive. Okay, yes. But the light that you said that it can receive 20%. Yeah, isn't there such a thing that the light can receive a light and didn't receive it? If there's an opportunity to be still, why not to do it? Of course. Thank you. Just like in our world, if there's an opportunity to bestow to the Creator by receiving, obviously receive the maximum you can. Ask Kazakhstan. Yes, thank you friends for the lesson. The light is pleasure, and obviously the nature of the created being that is yearning. What's the nature of the screen? What's the material of the screen? The matter of the screen is resistance or hardness. It's hard. It cannot receive. The screen comes from the desire, and its power is to not receive. and the screen can measure how much it can, to what extent it can receive. And that's why we have the I just drew. If you can show the diagram, that's the matter of the screen. The screen does everything. Our whole goal is actually to acquire a screen. If we acquire the screen, then we have a spiritual vessel, and we will be able to receive spiritual pleasure, which is different than corporeal pleasure. So, lesson of today till here we recommend watching Love's lesson again. He really, from this text, we took long lessons and divided them into 3, so now we saw the third of the second lesson. When you watch a lesson, there's so much richness in it. And again, let's not forget that the purpose of our studies, like in the question that C asked, is not now that we can understand it in our will to receive, but from yearning to understand these terms and these values we're studying about. We are bringing the lights closer to our soul to reach that attainment. So thank you, everybody. Friends, we're going to go into a lesson with Ra from 2002. This is based on Rabash's article concerning respecting the Father. We'll read the article first together in the tens. We have 19 minutes for that. Concerning respecting the Father, it is written in the Holy Zohar. Rabbi Shimon started and said, a son honors his father and a servant his master. A son honors his father is Isaac. With respect to Abraham, he asks, when did he honor him? When he tied him at the altar, and he did not resist doing his father's will, and a servant his master's. His master is Eliezer with respect to Abraham. When he sent Eliezer to Charan, who did all that Abraham wished, he honored him, as it is written, and the Lord has blessed my master, and it is written, he said, I am Abraham's servant to honor Abraham. Indeed, a man who brings silver and gold and gems and camels, and who is respectable and handsome, did not say that he was Abraham's beloved or his kin. Rather, he said, I am Abraham's servant to raise Abraham's merit and honor in their eyes. He says this is why it is written, a son honors his father and a servant his master. And you, Israel, my sons, it is a disgrace for you to say that I am your father, or that you are my servants. If I am a father, where is my honor? And if I am a master, where is the fear of me? We should understand the words of the Holy Zohar when he says that the Lord says, and you, Israel, my sons, it is a disgrace for you to say that I am your father. This implies that we need to tell someone that the Creator is our Father, but we cannot say it because we are ashamed. So we must know to whom we are to say that He is our Father. We must also know what is the shame for which we are unable to say it. As it's written, it's a disgrace for you. This is generally perplexing. After all, each day we say our Father, our King, and during the 18 prayer, we say, return us, our Father, to your law. So to whom else are we to say that the Creator is our Father, and we are ashamed to say it, and for which the Creator is angrier, and says, if I am a father, where is my honor? We should interpret this. We need to say that the Lord is our Father relates to the Creator. We always say our Father, our King, and for this the Creator is angry. How are you not ashamed to say to me that I am your Father, while you show me no respect? As it is said, if I am a father, where is my honor? That is the Creator says, it is a disgrace for you to call me our Father, and I see that to you my honor is in the ground, which is called Shriner in the dust. Thus how are you not ashamed to call me our Father? And if I am a master, where is the fear of me? You say that you are all servants of the Creator, but I do not see that you have fear, meaning the fear of heaven that you should take upon yourselves. A servant is one who has no authority of one's own. As our sages said, he who has bought a slave bought his ravelled by before the master, and all that he receives from the master is only so he can serve the master and not for himself. But I see that you are taking the opposite route. That is, you want me to serve you, meaning that I will satisfy your self-love. And all you are coming to ask of me is how to increase your authority. That is, you are the master's and I am your servant. And you walk around all day with complaints about me that I owe you, and that if you could receive from me by force, you certainly would. And what did the Creator do so they would not receive by force? He did something small. He created darkness in the world called concealment, in case the creatures are unwilling to be servants and work for Him, called receiving in order to bestow contentment upon one's Maker. As our sages said, quote, cleave unto his attributes, end quote. It is known that as long as one is in vessels of reception, the more he receives, the worse one is, meaning farther from the Creator. Therefore, the Creator has made a great correction that when the vessels of perception govern a person, he does not see anything of holiness from which he can derive pleasures. Rather, he sees only those pleasures that he can see called pleasures of separation. It is as the Holy says that the shells were given a slim illumination for all the corporeal pleasures so they may exist. This light of corporeality is all that we can see as having pleasure. But over spirituality lies a cloud of darkness that covers all the spiritual pleasures. Thus they do not receive by force, even when the landlord does not want to give because they see no pleasures. Hence those whose wish is only self-love flee from any true thing, where there is delight and pleasure, because darkness covers the earth. And for this reason, a person cannot begin to work Lishmer for her sake right away, but must begin in Lishmer, not for her sake. In Lishma, which is the true way, the body must flee this work, as every kind goes to its kind. Since man was created with vessels of reception in order to receive, when he sees a thought, word, or action that does not yield anything for his vessels of perception, he promptly flees them, because this is not his kind. This his kind is the nature in which he was created, receiving in order to receive and not to give anything. In order for a person who begins the work of the Creator not to flee from the work of bestow, because this is not his kind, we must begin with Lishma not for her sake. That is, he keeps the Torah and commandments that the Creator has commanded us in return for reward from the Creator for our work. This is so because we could work only for corporeal things to make money and gain respect and enjoy rest. We relinquish obtaining money, honor, and other lusts that the body requires of us to do, which would delight us, and instead we keep the Torah commandments that the Creator has commanded us, and we see that when we demand something of the body, that it will relinquish the pleasures it thinks it can enjoy. It asks, what will you get out of this? That is those new works you want to do. Will they give you greater pleasures? If not, then why do you need to change your workplace? You are used to working for this landlord, but now you want to work for the Creator, because he needs your work. Will he pay you a higher salary, meaning more pleasures? Will you enjoy more than in the work you're already used to? We should say to it, until now we had small gains, meaning imaginary pleasure, but now you will make great profit, and your pleasure will be real pleasure, because the Creator wishes to give you a spiritual reward. However, without work, it will be the bread of shame, which is why we were given the Torah commandments. And we must believe that he will certainly pay us for relinquishing our needs from which we can derive enjoyment in return for a real reward, which is a spiritual reward. And although we do not know yet what is spirituality, we nonetheless believe it is a great thing compared to which all the corporeal pleasures are as a tiny candle. As explained in the words of the Who says that due to the breaking of the vessels and the sin of the tree of knowledge, sparks fell into the kipot in order to sustain them so they would not be cancelled as long as they are needed. But the majority of the delight and pleasure is found in the worlds of. Therefore, it is worthwhile for us to work in which we will be rewarded with the next world in return for our work in it. However, once a person has begun the work of the Creator and wants to know the real work, he is told, if I am a master, where is the fear of me? That is the proper way is for the servant to work only for the landlord, and not at all for himself. Yet you are working only in order to be rewarded with the next world. You want reward for your work. The slave works without any reward, and the landlord provides his needs for him. Only so the servant will be able to work for him. But the servant has no property that can be said to belong to the servant. Rather, there's only one authority there, the authority of the landlord. Indeed, all our work in Volans, a form which is with the Creator, engaging in Torah, is not as we thought before, that the Creator wants us to keep his mitzvot, and he will later pay us for this. Rather that we were given To keep is because we need it. That is by keeping Torah. We will receive the light of the Torah, and through that light we will then be able to achieve equivalence of form, because the light in it reforms him. Thus, what is the reward, we should ask? For in return for the body's work, it is that we relinquish the needs of the body for the purpose of keeping. It's impossible to work without reward, since it immediately asks, why are you relinquishing the pleasures that you can enjoy? What will you gain? The answer is that all our gain is that we are rewarded with serving the Creator. This is very important because it is true, meaning that he will be rewarded with clinging to the King of Kings. But when all the pleasures he has are built on taking every delight and pleasure into serving himself, and receiving pleasure in clothes of reception pertains to animals and not necessarily to humans, the highest of all creatures, so he enjoys the same dresses that animals enjoy. This is unbecoming of him. Rather, all the dresses where man wants to receive pleasure should be garments of vessels of bestow. That is, it is impossible to work without pleasure, but he measures his pleasures in how much he can bestow upon the king. That is, if he wishes to know how much work he receives from his work, he should not measure how much he enjoys his work, meaning how much pleasure he derives from serving the king. Rather, he should measure by actions, meaning how much he wants the king to enjoy his work. It follows that all of his importance is in that he is serving the king. It follows that if one wants to test if he is advancing in the work, he should do it in two ways. One, by looking at the reward he hopes to receive from the Creator. If he is receiving a greater reward each day, then the gauge is the vessels of reception. Two, how much he enjoys serving the Creator, and all his reward is that he is bestowing upon the Creator. For example, if he is serving the greatest man in the country, he enjoys it. But if he is serving the greatest in the generation, he certainly enjoys it more. Therefore, he wants a Creator to be greater and more important in his eyes each day. This is the real measurement. Tells us that we do not respect the Father. We want the Creator to serve us, and not for us to serve him. That's why the flip side of this whole corruption is the importance of the Creator. We will now continue to the lesson from the 18th of January 2002. We read an article from Rabash concerning respecting the Father as if the Creator demands us to respect him. Of course, he doesn't need that. There can't be any kind of demand like that in, or understanding like at in vessels of bestow. One who bestows the first correction we go through when we reach bestow is they have no address for self, no return to self. So certainly, respect, and being the one of the biggest demands of man's ego, man's will to receive, it immediately becomes uprooted from the person if he enters spirituality. In the spiritual realm, honor or respect is not self-respect, but the opposite. It's the honor to whom I give, that I need to honor him, appreciate him, know him, and that he'll be great in my eyes, because only then my visors of reception will surrender and I'll be able to bestow to him. This is actually the whole matter of the concealment, that until person doesn't attain all the corrections, then the Creator is hidden. To not disturb the person to make the correction, not that he is doing it on purpose so that we suffer in the darkness or all kinds of other calculations the way we think about it in our ego. Rather, the concealment on his part is to allow us to prepare vessels of reception, specifically vessels of reception so that we can then receive in them without limit, can be received only if these vessels are of reception are in order to bestow. So to allow us, it's to allow us to correct our vessels of reception to acquire the intention, the reflected light, and that's possible only if the Creator is not felt inside of us, inside our senses. And that time of the preparation of the vessel for the reception of the light has to happen in darkness and double concealment or single concealment. And so the work is in trying to work on the greatness and importance of the Creator without knowing him. How is that possible? From the darkness, from the negativity, not from the positive, but from the negative. If a person from the negative, from not feeling godliness, he develops the desire for godliness and comes to the point of until it doesn't let me sleep, then he is awarded with the Creator, beginning to be revealed to him. And then the revelations he feel the knowing of the Creator also uses the person, also serves the person, as fuel, as the ability to keep increasing the vessel to continue and grow the vessel, and not that the presence of the Creator quenches all development. Like in our world, if we take a hungry person and give him everything, he will not want to develop to work. He will not want to develop. You know, they say that hunger and fear develop the world or govern the world, move the world. What does it mean? The desire for, the lust and passion for all kinds of things, and the hunger, the desire to fill oneself that pushes man towards development. It brings him to move. And so if people, not just people, but all of nature would just receive its fulfillment on the spot, there would be no development. There would be no need to make any movement. On the contrary, even if you would like to make a movement, as if you would like, but there would be no reason to. Any movement is necessary. It's a necessary urge to receive fulfillment. So the Creator has to be concealed. The pleasure has to be concealed. The suffering, meaning the emptiness, has to be revealed actually. And in such a state a person needs to move and develop himself in the right direction, build the vessel. That this vessel, the desire for revelation of godliness, will be sufficient, which is impossible without this. Then the Creator becomes revealed and begins the stage of the disclosure of the face. The transition between concealment and revelation is called crossing the barrier, entering spirituality. And after that, when a person moves to the sensation of the Creator, meaning into spirituality, into the upper world, how doesn't matter how you call it. Then, from the Creator opening up to him, from beginning to see the forces, relationships, what's happening with him and his surrounding, from that he begins to learn reality in a practical way, from his new life, from the data that appears to him. So the main thing is to go through the phase of preparation and achieve disclosure of the face. After that it says one soul shall teach him, meaning that a person receives an impression from the revelation of the Creator, and that already attracts him and advances him. Any questions, please? In order to give the person the passion, the desire to reach the Creator, even when he passes the barrier, is there some kind of concealment? After a person crosses the barrier, I understand that there's some process, some mechanism by which some mechanism before the barrier, when the Creator is hidden from the person, by which a person receives the desire to reach the Creator. Anything after he crosses the barrier, how is the Creator hidden from the person? The Creator is hidden from the person in a simple way, to the extent that the person is not in corrected vessels. These vessels themselves hide the Creator as something that's opposite. Or you can say it differently, from the Creator's perspective, that the Creator from above. We can't talk about the person before he's created. So we say that the Creator created a system of diminishing the light, diminishing his presence, his sensation through filters of sorts that weaken and weaken and weaken more and more his sensation with respect to the created being. And those levels of weakening, they are called worlds. 5 worlds. In each world there's 5 in each, 5 altogether, 125 degrees, by which the Creator, who is if stands behind all those degrees, all those filters, he is then felt as weaker and weaker and weaker through those filters. And we, beginning our path from below, we are under all of the degrees. So we feel darkness. So on the one hand we have to say the Creator is hidden from us behind all those curtains. And on the other hand we can say that all those curtains, all those degrees, they are within us. And they are in fact the stages of corruption that we have from above downwards, that he deliberately corrupted us and made us this way. And to the extent that we correct each and every corruption from below upwards, from smaller corruption to greater and greater and greater one. The truth is the greatest corruptions are the highest one who's greater than his friend. His inclination is greater than him. When we begin to correct ourselves from below upwards, or you could say when we remove the filters, those curtains that he put between us, to the extent that I correct a quality within me, that curtain as if opens up. I correct another quality and a higher curtain opens up as well, and so on. But in truth, it all happens in a single carrier. It's all within the soul. Besides the Creator and the soul, there's nothing And all those degrees happen within the soul. When the Creator put a will to receive in the soul, He did it gradually through 125 degrees one by one. Each one is greater, more cruel, more demanding, and when the will to receive the greater it is, the more it demands, the lower it is. Then we begin our feeling from after all those degrees of the soul from a point called this world. So we don't feel anything at all from God, from the Creator, when the first kind of attitude towards Him opens us in us. It's the point in the heart, and it's also not something that is felt realistically in a sense that I can see Him and feel Him. But through the preparation that we're engaged with now, if I start from that point and build the first vessel, the first correction, I remove the first curtain, the lowest curtain, then I begin to feel Him. So it's all within me, within my soul. And afterwards I correct another something of my will to receive, and then I remove another hurdle between us, another curtain between us, and thus I feel Him more and more within my soul. The truth is, He's always there inside my soul, but I, on my own, within myself, I correct my sensation of Him, my sensitivity to Him, my ability to sense Him. So everything we can talk about is ultimately happening inside the soul only there. There's nothing outside of it. There's nothing that if something's happening outside of it, does it really happen on the outside, or does it not? I can't say. Just like in our five senses, I seem to perceive something from outside seemingly, because I actually just perceive my responses to something from the outside, and so from that I build my entire picture of the world where I think I exist in a certain place, in a certain reality. The same thing happens in the soul in the sixth sense, that what's felt in the soul is what a person calls my spiritual world, and that's it. And what's revealed within the soul is he calls it the general force. He calls it the Creator. It's not, like a little thing, as I'm talking about it like it's not such an important thing, that this is how the root of creation becomes revealed, that the root of all of creation, all of reality that we're talking about, the worlds, the souls, and everything that fills those souls and worlds and angels and demons and spirits, which is all together just forces, qualities, and what you think of as this world with all of this vast universe and all of the stillness. Look at how many billions of tons of planets and distances and all those things ultimately become revealed to us as our impression from the influence of the Creator upon us towards our senses. It exists inside our senses and outside our senses. I can't really say if it exists. In truth, it doesn't. It doesn't, because this picture is a picture that falsifies the true reality, meaning that what we perceive within us according to our sensations, our qualities, our senses, we call that objective reality, as if it exists even when we don't sense it, even if there's no human. But such a thing we can't say, because we can never check what is the true reality. If there's no person to feel it, we can always talk about who feels and what he feels. Only those two things, or light and vessel, creator and created being. So all the worlds, all that we talk about, all of reality, is only within us. It's only within our emotions. And Cav is a science that explains to us, then what is it that we feel? Who fills my emotions, my senses, my five senses, and the additional spiritual sense? And what is this reality that we call life? This feeling within our senses. And part of the senses perhaps disappear, and others are born, and so on. In short, it's a science on perception of reality. That's what Kabbalah is. And Kabbalah calls the reality we experience, or it divides what we experience to two parts: the imaginary reality and the true reality. What do you call imaginary, and what do you call true? If I feel that. So Kabbalah says this: the imaginary reality is the reality you feel in the ordinary five beastly senses of a person, and the true reality is what you feel in the sixth sense. Why?